Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Uh, Thank you again for joining me. I always appreciate your presence. Uh, Today is January 9th, 2023. So I have some news update to share with you. I will start with a widely circulated video on OLA, Oromo Liberation Army military operation, and the release of prisoners. Uh, so this is another one. Last time they conducted a similar operation and they released more than 100 prisoners. So we should appreciate Oromo Liberation Army for saving, for saving, and I mean for saving these individuals from atrocities. Um, you know, they suffer in illegal prisons without any due process, just by blaming them supporters of Onak Shani by Prosperity Party. So this operation should continue, and so many Oromos are in jail in legal and illegal detention centers without any appearance to court, to justice system. There is no justice system. There is no due process. So releasing them is very essential, and OLA military operation should be appreciated really for saving these young and old just stored in a prison cell illegally by Prosperity Party, just by blaming them as a supporters of Oromo Liberation Army. So I will start with a short video on OLA operation storming in I think Bule Hora in a West Guji zone. So we'll hear and we'll see the prisoners release. Let's start with that one, then we'll continue with reading news material, and I have also a few videos I selected from different media for today. Thank you again for coming back.
akkanatti cabsee hidhamaa jiru baasee jira. Injifannoo kan uummata Oromooti. Injifannoo kan waraana bilisummaa Oromooti. Baga gammadan uummata Oromoo, baga gammadan warri maqaa siyaasaatiin tola hidhamtan jirtu. Akkanatti sin baasa waraana bilisummaa Oromoo waboon. Injifannoo kan waraana bilisummaa Oromoo, injifannoo kan uummata Oromooti. Mana sirreessaa godina Gujii lixaa akkanatti cabsee baase waboon. Injifannoo, injifannoo. Injifannoo kan uummata Oromooti. Injifannoo kan waraana bilisummaa Oromooti. Waboo zoonii kibbaa konyaa Gujii lixaa akkanatti mana sirreessaa godina Gujii lixaa uummattoota dabaaf cubbuun hidhaman cabsee akkanatti bilisa baasee jira. Godina Gujii lixaa mana sirreessaa godina Gujii lixaa waboo zoonii kibbaa konyaa Gujii lixaa akkanatti cabsee hidhamaa jiru baasee jira. Injifannoo kan uummata Oromooti. Injifannoo kan waraana bilisummaa Oromooti. Baga gammadan uummata Oromoo, baga gammadan warri maqaa siyaasaatiin tola hidhamtan jirtu. Akkanatti sin baase waraana bilisummaa Oromoo waboon. Injifannoo kan waraana bilisummaa Oromoo, injifannoo kan uummata Oromooti. Mana sirreessaa godina Gujii lixaa.
So that's the Operation OLA forces storm the prison cell in West Guji zone in Bule Hora district, and released, set free, those prisoners, political prisoners, and those just ordinary people stored by Prosperity Party. So that's a victory for those people. You saw them on the video jumping with happiness, with joy. So that should be appreciated, and is a victory for OLA, is a victory for prisoners, and is a victory for Oromo people. And it should continue until all Oromos are out of these illegal prisons. They are suffering, injustice. There is no court appearance. There is no family visit. There is no proper hygiene, no food. So, and the torture, so many things. So it's a good thing. They should be released, and they should be allowed, to enjoy their freedom. And we should appreciate Oromo Liberation Army for conducting a successful operation against these illegal prisons. Next one. The next one, here we go, in a reading, a couple of them from Addis Standard. The first one is, despite public protests over exclusion, administrative hurdle, Shagar City Council established, mayor sworn in. So this is a new city council and a new mayor for Shagar City. Municipal Court of the recently established Shagar City has held its inaugural assembly to form a council and has appointed officials, including the speaker and the mayor, to the controversial would-be Shagar City. The decision to establish the new mega city was recently passed by the Oromia Regional State Government by merging towns, districts, and some villages located within the Oromia Special Zone surrounding Finfinne, or the capital city, Addis Ababa. Towns like Burayu, Sululta, Lagatafo, Lagadadi, Galan, Sabbata, and some villages in neighboring districts of Addis Ababa that belong the Oromia Special Zone surrounding Finfinne, such as Welmara, Sululta, Barak, Akaki, and Sabbata, Hawas, have come under the Shagar City. Thus, the Shagar City Council that was established today constitutes members of the councils of these cities. Accordingly, the council will have Qabato Albe as speaker and Tsahai Dabale as deputy speaker. In addition, Dr. Tashome Adunya, who was appointed as mayor earlier, was sworn in at the council's establishing session today. The establishment of the Shagar City Council comes amid protests by residents whose villages were excluded from the city's structuring. Last week, residents of villages in Barak district in the Oromia Special Zone surrounding Finfinne staged a protest demonstration in Sandafa town, complaining about their exclusion from the city and administrative hurdles they are facing.
Residents who spoke to the BBC's Afan Oromo service say out of the 23 villages in Barak district, only 10 have been incorporated into the Shagar city administration, while the rest 13 were left to be under the Barak district, which will now be administered by the North Shore zone of the Oromia regional state. The residents of the 13 villages complained that the decision will have forced them to travel up to 200 kilometers to the zonal capital in Fiche to get basic administrative services. They also said that the government has not held any discussions with them regarding the establishment of the city and its subsequent outcomes. Similarly, residents of Sabata Hawass district held protests on 28 December 2022 regarding the structuring of Shagar city. The Sabata Hawass district has 41 villages, of which 17 villages fall under the Shagar city and the other 24 remaining under the district, and which will now be administered by Southwest Shore Zone. The residents say the decision will divide communities. Residents who will be directly affected by the decision to establish Shagar city are not the only ones who protested. As early as December 1st, the State Minister of Peace, Taye Danda, became among the foremost critics of the establishment, the city, saying that the decision was not transparent and didn't follow legal procedures. However, in recent interview, Dr. Tashoma Adunya, who was sworn in today, dismissed the complaint and blamed the protests on lack of understanding about the dynamic of big cities and that there is nothing to complain about. For example, those who say they have to travel to North Shore for services, there is nothing that takes them to North Shore. We have said this over and again. All the services they need, including the court, are there. A city is established on the basis of urban science. But if you include every village, it loses the meaning of the city. This comes from ignorance, lack of understanding, he said, adding that there have been repeated discussions with the people on the issue. Speaking at the inaugural assembly of Cities Council today, Dr. Tashoma said that the first objective of establishing the city is to expand market centers and infrastructure development to ensure rights and interests the Oromo people should get from Addis Ababa and the surrounding. The City Council has approved appointments of heads of various offices for Shagar City, which is constituted into 12 sub-cities and 36 districts. So that is the situation with the new established City Council and swearing of new mayor, Dr. Tashoma Dunya, and other officials for this new Shagar city. Another from Addis Standard, this one is passengers return. Passengers return home as inexplicable restriction on flight from Mekelle to Addis takes a toll. In less than 2 weeks time of the Ethiopian Airlines flight resumption to Tigray, restriction has been made on some passengers en route to Addis Ababa from Mekelle, witness told Addis Standard. According to passengers, flights now excludes all people between 16 and 65 age group. A passenger who purchased air ticket to fly to Addis Ababa from Mekelle told Addis Standard that she was forced to return from Mekelle's Alula Abanaga International Airport after being denied entrance to the airport. Although I arrived on time at the airport, a security man dressed in a federal police uniform indicated me to an employee of the airlines. A passenger who preferred to remain anonymous said, adding that the employee of the airport, having read my identity card and told me that I was not allowed to travel unless I present a hospital referral letter to receive medical treatment in Addis Ababa. That's discrimination. She added that she showed her round-trip ticket to the employee, but he told her the federal government has already given them a directive restricting even those with round-trip tickets unless they have medical referral evidence or they are below 16 and over 65 years of age. I don't know. It doesn't make sense why you want the youngsters and the oldest above 65 years of age and below 16 years of age. It might have political implication. I came here a year ago from Addis Ababa and now they rejected my return, she said. Another young passenger whose flight was cancelled last Saturday told Addis Standard that an employee of the Ethiopian Airlines said to me that I was not qualified for the travel, despite booking tickets and being at the airport in Mekelle on schedule. According to the witness, the restrictions, which began on 6 January, do not apply on youngsters who have traveled from Addis Ababa to Tigray, and they are allowed to board their flights back to Addis Ababa. Authorities in Tigray regional state told regional media that they do not have knowledge of this recent restriction on the travel, but has been discussing with the federal government following complaints from passengers. The Ethiopian Airlines, which resumed its flights to Mekelle on 28 December 2022 after nearly 20 months of suspension, didn't respond to inquiry made by Addis Standard regarding the restrictions. It is to be remembered that as of 29 December last year, members of Ethiopian Federal Police were deployed in Mekelle and commenced safeguarding federal institutions and installation under the auspices of the Federal Police. Alula Abanaga International Airport is a federal institution. So this restriction on, on age group 16 and above and 65 and above, this is doesn't make sense. So, it's playing game. This one about UK appointing a new ambassador to Ethiopia. So this one is replacing Alastair MacPhail. Ambassador Alastair MacPhail of UK will be replaced by Mr. Darren Welch. UK ambassador to Ethiopia submits a copy of his credential letters to Ambassador Dammaqe. The UK ambassador to Ethiopia, Darren Walsh, presented a copy of his letter of credential to Ambassador Dammaqe Atnafu, Chief of Protocol at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. During their discussion, Ambassador Dammaqe said that the two countries should further strengthen ties in tourism, ICT, mining, agro-processing, pharmaceuticals, and other sectors. Ambassador Dammaqe expressed the unwavering commitment of the Ethiopian government to implement the Pretoria Peace Agreement. On his part, Ambassador Darren said his country would continue to be one of the leading countries supporting Ethiopia's development efforts, further pledging to strengthen relations between the two countries. So that's a new ambassador, UK ambassador to Addis Ababa, Mr. Darren Walsh. This is about Eritrean notorious trafficker arrested in Sudan. The Eritrean notorious human trafficker arrested in Sudan. Nairobi, Kenya. A notorious Eritrean trafficker who is wanted in the Netherlands has been arrested in Sudan 2 years after Dutch authorities put him on notice over various crimes and could now face extradition to answer charges leveled against him in the European nation. Prosecutors in the Netherlands are understood to be in the process of requesting Khartoum to extradite him to the country to face persecution over the alleged trafficking crimes. Zacharias Haptemariam has been linked to the ring behind human trafficking across the world. The 39-year-old was arrested on Sunday in a police operation against money laundering that was led by the United Arab Emirates, the prosecutor's office said. Reuters reported in what the Netherlands has termed as the most significant success. In 2021, reports indicate Kidane was sentenced to life in absentia by a court in Ethiopia after his conviction in relation to the torturing of African refugees and migrants who use Libya when crossing to Europe. Ethiopia has also been searching for him. At the time of trial, Kidane had escaped from court premises in Addis Ababa in February 2021 after nearly a year of trial on 8 counts of human trafficking. He was the most sought alleged human trafficker from Africa to Europe, according to authorities. The Dutch public prosecutors in 2021 placed Kidane on the list of the most wanted human traffickers in the world after it emerged that one of his organizations was involved in the abduction, extortion, and rape of Eritreans who were seeking refuge in Holland. Cases of human trafficking are common in the Horn of Africa, where living conditions are deplorable and people often use the advantage to mistreat the vulnerable. It is through this concern that an alarm was raised against Kidane by a number of his victims. credit for this one, Garowe Online News. Palestinian Prime Minister says Israel aims to topple the Palestinian Authority. Tel Aviv, Israel. This is Associated Press. The Palestinian Prime Minister on Monday accused Israel's new ultra-nationalist government of trying to topple the internationally recognized Palestinian Authority and warned that a series of new Israeli sanctions could further inflame what has been a particularly deadly period of fighting. In recent days, Israel has withheld millions of dollars of Palestinian tax revenues, stripped Palestinian officials of VIP privileges, and broken up a meeting of Palestinian parents discussing their children's education. Late Sunday, Israeli security minister banned public display of the Palestinian flag. This is another additional atrocity on Palestinians, and the money they are holding now, according to State Department, is about I think 40 million US dollar. Tax Palestinians taxpayers or tax revenue supposed to go to the Palestinians. That Israel is the most powerful, and nobody can challenge them. They can do whatever they want to do in that area, in that region. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh said the Israeli measures made in response to a Palestinian appeal for UN help are aimed at toppling the authority and pushing it to the brink financially and institutionally. We consider these measures a new war against the Palestinian people, their capabilities and funds, and a war against their national authority, its survival and its achievement, Shtayyeh said during his weekly cabinet meeting. The Israeli measures have come in response to the UN General Assembly's decision to ask the UN highest judicial body to give its opinion on the legality of Israeli policies in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. Israel vehemently opposed the Palestinian-backed move. Decisions by the International Court of Justice are not binding, but can carry great influence. Shtayyeh rejected Israeli claims that such moves are counter to peace. We have the right to complain and tell the world we are in pain, he said in comment published in Haaretz earlier Monday. Israel wants to prevent even the most non-violent way of fighting the occupation. A day earlier, Israel's national security minister ordered police to ban on the Palestinian flag in public. Today, I directed the Israeli police to enforce the provision of flying any PLO flag that shows identification with a terrorist organization from the public sphere, and to stop any incitement against the state of Israel, Itamar Ben-Gvir announced on Twitter. A far-right firebrand known for his anti-Palestinian rhetoric, Ben-Gvir drew widespread international condemnation when he visited Jerusalem's most sensitive holy site last week. Under Israeli law, flying the Palestinian flag is not a crime, but Israel's Attorney General in 2014 ruled that police have the authority to confiscate a flag if it disrupts public order or is done in support of terrorism. Adala, an Arab minority legal rights group, said that Ben Gvir's order falsely implies that any public display of the Palestinian flag disrupts the peace. This gives the police unfettered discretion to ban the waving of the Palestinian flag under all circumstances, the group said. The Israeli crackdown comes at a fragile time. The Israeli military has been conducting near daily raids into Palestinian cities and towns since a spate of Palestinian attacks against Israelis killed 19 last spring. Nearly 150 Palestinians were killed by Israeli fire in the West Bank and East Jerusalem last year, according to the Israeli rights groups B'Tselem, making 2022 the deadliest year since 2004, when 197 Palestinians were killed. A fresh wave of attacks killed at least another 9 Israelis in the fall. Credit for this one, APnews.com, Agence France, Associated Press, I mean. So that's unfortunate additional burden on Palestinians holding, the revenue about 40 million, which is, desperately needed for these people, and also their right to their flag, and also to express the pain they are suffering to UN-backed court. We'll see what's going to happen. And Israelis, doing everything to prevent the two-state solution, the recognition of Palestinian statehood. They are doing everything. They are taking their land and putting more pressure, conducting military operation, using the court system to jail Palestinians, and for not allowing the Palestinians to return to their own home. So many apartheid style administration in that region, and the United States is just they are supporting the two-state solution, but they are not pushing for it, and Okay, that's enough for reading. Let's share about 3 videos, short videos, and end today's presentation. The first one is the U.S. House of Representatives now, officially have Kevin McCarthy, and Hakeem Jeffrey, as the speakers of House of Representatives. And it was very tough as for Kevin McCarthy, almost 15 rounds of voting because he was challenged by fellow Republicans. They don't want him, the Speaker of the House. But finally, they negotiated after 15 rounds of voting. It was tough to watch. But let's listen to these videos and end today's presentation.
It took 4 days of bitter disagreements, but the people's gavel is now in the hands of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. His promise to his fellow Republicans and the American people to keep the Biden administration in check.
We will hold the swamp accountable. From the withdrawal of Afghanistan to the origins of COVID and to the weaponization of the FBI.
McCarthy's new position in power came with a set of concessions to his detractors that will now shape his leadership. A single member of the lower chamber in Congress could call for an internal election to oust him. During an interview with ABC this week, Republican Representative Andy Barr downplayed the measure's potential impact.
We're just going back to the pre-Pelosi rule that was in place since 1910. I don't think that's an issue at all in terms of creating chaos.
Even if unity prevails, the new House Speaker will have to find ways to negotiate with the Biden administration on thorny matters such as immigration and spending cuts, which U.S. Representative Scott Perry told ABC are necessary.
It's about making sure that we have a budget that we can agree upon that doesn't just continually increase spending, but then we appropriate to that budget.
President Joe Biden released a statement congratulating McCarthy and saying he is, quote, prepared to work with Republicans when he can. House Republicans on their side are keen to investigate the president's administration and his family's business dealings. Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told NBC's Meet the Press he's hopeful he'll be able to find common ground with the new speaker for the sake of the American people.
I look forward to building upon the Biden agenda, tremendous accomplishments, and if Kevin McCarthy is willing to try to find common ground in that regard, they will find willing partners amongst House Democrats.
On the streets of Washington, Americans shared with VOA their opinions on the new congressional landscape.
As a Democrat, I'm not as excited about the new leadership, but I am hopeful that they can find a way to work through some of the problems that is facing our country, and in particular, I really hope that they don't use any brinksmanship, particularly around the debt ceiling.
I don't see an awful lot of change in foreign policy, although I think that the Republicans are going to use the power of the purse to try to, rein in the illegal immigration that's occurring right now.
These are sensitive topics that could translate into tough negotiations, since Republicans now hold a slim 222 to 212 margin over Democrats in the new session of the 118th Congress, with one current vacancy. Verónica Valderas Iglesias, VOA News, Washington.
That's advertisement.
China's new Foreign Minister Qin Gang began his new term visiting 5 African countries in a trip that will last 1 week from January 9th to 16th. The former Chinese ambassador to the U.S. is scheduled to visit Ethiopia, Gabon, Angola, Benin and Egypt, and later extend his trip to the Arab League, where he will meet his Secretary General. Foreign Minister Qin Gang's visit to Africa this time is his first overseas visit since he became the Chinese Foreign Minister. It has been a 33 years fine tradition that Chinese foreign ministers made their first overseas visit to Africa at the beginning of the new year. It shows that China attaches great importance to the traditional friendship with Africa and the development of China-Africa relations. At present, China-Africa relations are developing vigorously and entering a new era of building a high-level China-Africa community with a shared future. The U.S. is battling China for influence in Africa, with President Joe Biden making an appeal to African leaders at a summit in Washington in December.
During Brazil's first day of the year, a crowd in the streets of Brasilia came out to see Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva inaugurated as the country's new president. 1 week later, crowds witnessed a different scene on the same street, an attempted coup. An estimated 4,000 supporters of former President Jair Bolsonaro invaded the Congress building, the Supreme Court, and Planalto Palace, the president's official workplace. The few police officers who were supposed to provide security were chased away. Rioters smashed windows, overturned furniture, and broke into historic buildings. The anti-Lula demonstrators filmed the destruction as it unfolded, while attacking the president's residence, invading the Senate, breaking works of art, and setting fire to the Chamber of Deputies. The main entrance of Brazil's Supreme Court building was destroyed. Hundreds of rioters were arrested, but only after President Lula signed the decree for federal forces to intervene. Video posted on social media show police officers walking and driving around the line of demonstrators towards the attack site. Here, police appear to be standing by after a large crowd of rioters entered the buildings. President Lula, who was not in Brasilia at the time, set up a crisis committee and said he will investigate and arrest those involved.
They are fascists representing everything abominable. They are true vandals who destroyed everything they found in front of them. All the people who did this will be found and punished. Democracy guarantees the right to freedom, but it also demands that people respect the institutions.
Bolsonaro, who has been in the U.S. state of Florida since he left power, distanced himself from the attacks on social media. He wrote, "Peaceful demonstrations, as allowed by law, are part of democracy. However, attacks on and invasions of public buildings as occurred today, as well as those practiced by the left in 2013 and 2017, defy the rule of law." Bolsonaro said the government has linked him to the riots without evidence. Commentators say the former president could come under investigation.
Jair Messias Bolsonaro is one of those responsible for this attack. He is seen as an intellectual mentor because dozens of times he suggested this type of action during his tenure, not to mention the silence, not admitting defeat after the elections. It fueled in its supporters a feeling that the coup was possible.
National police forces and the Brazilian army have assumed command of Brasilia's security until the end of the month. The Brazilian Congress, which was in recess, called an emergency meeting on Monday. For Edgar Marcial, Miguel Amaya, VOA News.
Okay. That resembles our election, but this one is in a high magnitude on the property damage. I didn't see any report of deaths and injuries, but the destruction is the magnitude is very high. That's not fair. After you lose election, you have to admit it, a defeat, concession. You cannot destroy public property and create chaos. So Brazilians, take it easy. Give him a chance. This guy, already accused and even, demonized, but he came back strong. He won the election. So give him a chance. Give him a chance so he can lead. Let me conclude today's presentation by saying congratulations for Oromo Liberation Army on your achievement on releasing, on setting free all these prisoners stored in illegal prison cells, just by accuse the government, the Prosperity Party, accuse them of supporting Sheni. So you did good. You did good by releasing them. There is no the chance to appear in court and get free trial. That's why I say, we should appreciate Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, its operation everywhere to end the suffering of the Oromo people and the suffering of these innocent people in the jail. So they should expand their operation in the capital city and release all political prisoners who are suffering under the name of OLF for almost years. No free trial, and some of them released by the court. And Abiy Ahmed and his undercover operatives put them back by using force. No legal justification. Some of them, moved from prison cell to prison cells like, like Gamachu Ayana. On interview, he said he was moved from prison to prison 18 times. 18 times. And he said the prison cell in Oromia was the worst. And even the guards threatening him and others with death. So that need special attention from international organizations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, USA, European Union. I know they are ready to re-engage with Ethiopia, but please don't ignore what Oromos are suffering under Abiy Ahmed leadership. Don't do it so fast. Take your time. Do your investigation. A lot of torture chambers created by Abiy Ahmed, just very close to the capital city. So we should appreciate and, go ahead, continue your operation until all prisoners are free. Political and non-political, these are innocent people stored by Prosperity Party. Please let them free, and please let all Oromos free from this tyranny, brutal government in Ethiopia, and especially in Oromia region. So they don't want to negotiate with you. The only option you have is using your force and conduct your operation. That's all I'm going to say for today. And please be safe. And so long until next round.